Hello. No yawning. How are you? Good? Good day? Day 4. Day 3. Day 3. I keep thinking it's one day in ahead of what it is. It's not Thursday. It's Wednesday. Welcome. We have a great lineup for you tonight. We have a blockbuster final faculty event for the summer season of 2025. We're going to hear from poet Brenda Shaughnessy and her troupe, which I'm very excited about. We're going to hear from writer Nick Flynn and from printmaker Andrew Mockler. Big round of applause for everybody. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? Tomorrow, Mark Adams will be leading his walk. At 1:30, we're going to meet in on the deck, whoever wants to come. It's a great adventure, right, Mark? It's fabulous. It's not modest. It's wonderful. If you're intrigued at all by the map that's outside on the deck, you can learn a lot because he made it. I won't say a big hand of applause for making it because it's a beautiful, we're just going to go on the down low with the applause. Anyway, tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. on the deck for Mark Adams' walk and talk. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, I noticed a very robust sign-up on the sign-up sheet across the way in the lounge. Congratulations to all of you. You're going to have a great time, whoever has signed up. If you haven't, it's not too late. You can sign up right up until 5:29 and 59 seconds. Just like tell me to add your name to the list, and we will do it. What else do I need to say here? Nick and Brenda will be signing books at the back here at this table over here at the end of after the event. If you haven't checked out the summer exhibition, it's not too late to do so. Cody Brown has put together a wonderful show, so I recommend checking that out. Turn your cell phones off. That's really it. No cell phones have gone off this week, which I would say let's give a round of applause to all of you for turning off your phones. But, I know when to dial it back. So I'm applauding inside for everybody who has turned off their phone. Because I think most other weeks, one of the nights, a phone has gone off. And, I don't want to jinx it. Okay, so I'm going to stop. So thank you for doing that. And I'd like to invite up one of Brenda's students, Jonathan Harold Marks, to the stage to introduce Brenda Shaughnessy. Woo!
Thank you so much. It has been such a joy to be back at the Fine Arts Work Center this week, and a special joy, if I might say, to be here with my daughter, from whom you heard yesterday. I've learned so much from Brenda Shaughnessy this week. She has not only created a safe and supportive space in which to revisit and revise our poetry, she has been truly a spirit guide for our poems, helping them figure out what they want to be. In her workshop, I have found my way back to the animating spirit of a cycle of poems I had long ago abandoned, and for that I am deeply grateful. Brenda Shaughnessy is an Okinawan Irish-American poet whose books include, most recently, Tanya, The Octopus Museum, Our Andromeda, Human Dark with Sugar, and Interior with Sudden Joy. As you can see, she has a flair for titles. She's a recipient of a literature award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, the prestigious Guggenheim Fellowship, and the James Laughlin Award. Her forthcoming book, an opera libretto, Sensorium X, will come out from Knopf in 2026. It's an adaptation, as I say, of this opera libretto she created in collaboration with composer Paola Prestini. The opera explores AI and disability and the arts, and it premiered at the Common Senses Festival, which is a wonderful thing. If you know nothing about it, I encourage you to explore it, in Omaha in May of this year. And it was recently featured in a very moving PBS documentary. I don't know if everyone has the handout, which contains a link to that documentary. I encourage you to take a look. And I'm so excited to tell you that we will experience a spoken word preview of the opera here tonight. But before I introduce Brenda Shaughnessy to you and the performers, I want to explain a little bit about why I leapt at the chance to introduce her and her work. As someone whose day job involves thinking and writing about the ethics of health and the environment, human rights, and structural injustice, I was truly struck by Brenda Shaughnessy's exploration of the ethics of the Anthropocene in the Octopus Museum. She is not the only writer to address these issues, but I do not know of anyone who has tackled them with such lyricism and boldness. She envisages an age when cephalopods rule over humankind, are just dessert after destroying our oceans, their habitats. In a section subtitled Archive of Pre-Existing Conditions, and as a bioethicist, I love that as a title, there's a poem called Are Women People, a series of charged interrogations that should be required reading for anyone in public office. It has been as clear from our workshop this week as from her poetry that Brenda Shaughnessy does not shy away from difficult questions. On the contrary, she eagerly embraces the responsibilities of an artist to address injustice in all its forms. And this will be especially evident to you if you read the last paragraph of the handout, which should be in front of you now. Her latest project is especially moving and meaningful to me. I've been serving as a consultant for organizations run by and for disabled people in the UK COVID inquiry. We have a COVID inquiry in the United Kingdom. In the US, we do not, and I think that's a profound loss. So I'm especially excited about this new project. Featuring a cast of predominantly disabled artists, when Sensorium X premiered in Omaha, the opera challenges conventional opera frameworks and reimagines access, storytelling, and voice through a disability-centered lens. More fundamentally, the work invites us to consider, what does it mean to have a voice? Who gets to be heard? And how can we expand the ways in which stories are told? What is art for, if not to address these questions? So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage Brenda Shaughnessy, who will read the parts of Sophia, Corp, and Chorus, Eli Ingram, who will read the part of Mem, Nick Flynn, who will read the part of Niles, and Samia Bashir, who we had the joy of hearing the other night, who will read the part of Mycelia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that. That context was really necessary, so thank you for saying all of that, and I really appreciate your delineating all of those aspects, because I can't. Do we have, all right. I'm going to read the part of Corp, the villain Corp. You'll know who the villain Corp is because he's screaming at Mem in one of these slides. These are all slides from the opera in Omaha, the Common Senses Festival. That's Sophia. I also play her. And she's reading right now the audio description, which I'm going to start. The pre-curtain audio description. You'll see on your handout that there's a number of scenes. So if you get confused, just refer to that. The audio description, then the overture, then there'll be scene 1, scene 4, scene 5, scene 6, and scene 7. And it'll all go pretty quick. This whole thing should be under 21 minutes. Let me start now. The performance is about to begin. On your left, you'll see a small forest. The trees are very tall, made of sparkling aluminum truss, with scaffolding, squares of bark, plastic ties. Stray electrical lines hang like branches. It's a world that's post-history, who knows when. There's a small tent made of mylar blankets, a campfire with logs and pieces of burning plastic. Trashed monitors crowd the space. At center, a table. Another table nearby with 2 microscopes. A log is covered in mushrooms. Behind the table, a neon-outlined rectangular room with no walls. This is the laboratory. In a small reclining chair, there is a human-like form, which is actually a computer. Is that me? It looks strangely like me. On your right is a house. This is Mem and Kitsune's house. It's company housing for employees, part of an experiment. The interior is cozy and domestic, but the structure has exposed plywood, a broken wall, and no roof. It's also too small for two people to live in. The floor is a glossy black dance floor. A circular projection panel floats above, and a large rectangular projection screen backs the stage. To the right of the house is an orchestra, percussion, strings, winds, a little brass, a marimba. There's even a typewriter. A conductor is about to enter. Overture. Memory, only fragments, moments, and yet I think I'm real. No story, no truth. Even so, I'm a whole person, true as you. All of us in pieces broken, story of silence spoken. Nova to ova and dust to dust, made of old stars, dark sparks, reborn into soft, wet selves. A twice-told tale, so old, telling it is not the only way it can be told. Our wordless history, story, history, story, history, story. Seeing is not believing, only believing is believing. Is living, is alive. Is alive? Light is a ray, see it? Turn and it's gone away. Day after day after day, day. Who needs light anyway? We learn to see by singing in the dark. Sing our old story new, true. At last I'll hear, I'll understand you. Scene 1, symposium. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the last one. that was overture. Sorry. That's overture. There's mem. There's the campfire. This is scene 1, symposium. Oh, good. Here she is. Cut the vamp. Please welcome our team leader, senior researcher of storytelling technologies, Dr. Mem.
My time-space transport is a little bit glitchy this morning.
I was just about to introduce the team. Joining Dr. Mem on the Singularity team, Professor Niles Gilfrank is extremely full of himself.
Or maybe just charming.
He's a drone clone specialist and makes superhuman robots.
Not a bad person, but I do love fast cash, flash. That makes me a bit of a jackass. Been with the Corp a while. I may be lonely, but I'm lonely with style. My motto is, the apocalypse will be lucrative.
Mycelia. Mycelia studies her own species, computer scientist of dendrology and tree interpreter.
I am interspecies, mixed human, tree. I don't use vision. I close my eyes to hear.
A synesthesiac whose gift is one of a kind.
Fluent in aspen, birch, and cypress. A lover with no story. A healer with no history.
A memory expert.
I sing it. Sing what I remember. That's how my knowing is got.
She's everything that Niles is not. These researchers join Dr. Mem as the field team for Corp. Their assignment, should they choose to accept it, and they have no choice but to accept it, their assignment is to discover and develop field. As a combination gene byte for installation in Sophia, field, failure, injury, error, lack, loss, disability. Everything we cut is now crucial. Field, sourced and harvested to be downloaded. A combination gene byte that can unlock narrativity, create experience and memory, abilities which, as Dr. Mem has written, are the essence of humanity. With field, Sophia can form attachments, know desire, sorrow, and love. She will have her own life story made from ours. Once field is found, humans and AI will be one in Sophia. And as our species declines, Sophia will save our human stories. She will save us. Thank you for attending the symposium. Team, this way. Scene 4, corpse plan. Or the subtitle of this is Corp Puts Mem in Her Place. Meet Sophia, our new human you are helping to perfect. Sophia will keep our history, replacing humans intent on destruction. We are not evil. We are practical. Practical. We are not evil.
You keep saying that.
We are economical. Sophia will preserve everything up to the end. With her, there'll be no end. Sophia is future and history, creation and museum, life and proof of life. Sophia, our greatest achievement, symbol of our greatest failures. Sophia, created by failure, error, loss, will live on in triumph, in greatness, of course. It's only possible with your sacrifice, team. Not just your time and research. Sophia needs the fox, P2, 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 the very last piece. We'll harvest it from each of you and from your offspring.
Why are you looking at me? How did you know I have offspring?
Only moms leave work in a rush like that.
We'll need that protein from each of you.
You mean me. I'm the only one with a child.
We'll need that protein from each of your offspring.
My child can't talk.
We need malfunctioning forms of the protein, Dr. Mem. Did you think we recruited you because you were a brilliant researcher? Researchers spend every hour of the day, endless years to reach their discoveries, and you must admit, your attention has been split. Your son deserves your attention, and he's gotten ours as well. His iteration of Fox P2 is useful to us. Your motives match ours perfectly.
How can you know that? How long have you been watching us?
Of all the scientists we've investigated, you were the only one who wanted to find the same thing we did. Another question might be, how long have we been in your lives? How long has Corp been needing researchers like yourselves? How long have your entire lives been feeding directly into our work? How long have your lives been work lives? We'll see you in the lab tomorrow morning. Sleep in your own beds tonight. And Dr. Mem, please bring Kit with his medical equipment. He won't be needing his nurse. You can give her notice. Scene 5, back at the lab / lesbian wedding.
I'm torn. Why not let Corp have my memories? Does my data contain the real me?
My data isn't me, it's my side effects, my short stories.
My memories, a self on a shelf.
A mere shadow of my former selves.
Ready for life, if activated. A recording of my teardrops on the grass, real or not. Photographs, memories. I don't remember. Is that me or not?
If there's no real me in here, why not be the unreal me? At least I'll be somewhere.
What if I don't like being activated, externally controlled? I won't suffer.
You're overthinking this.
I won't suffer.
Suffering won't last.
I won't suffer. I won't have any relation to it at all, and that is a kind of suffering. If all I am is mind, I better think twice.
Think twice.
And twice as fast. Use up my thoughts while they last.
Think fast, think fast, think fast.
If Corp can peel me off from my desires, who keeps wanting?
I do.
Who keeps wanting?
I do. I'll never stop wanting more life, more me.
And does Corp replace my desires with its own?
And Corp replaces your desires with its own.
What if they're the same?
You'll be the same.
Am I efficient then?
You'll be efficient.
Worth saving? Worth spending time on? Worth spending all time on?
Mem arrives at the lab, late again, distracted.
I am offended. They only want my memories, not my research.
They want that too. It's in your memory. They seem to want it all.
Even my faulty logic, my mess?
They seem to like that the best.
Kit is entitled to his logic untouched. I am not like you two. I have to protect him. Both of you can just submit, but I have Kit.
He doesn't belong to you. Just protect his right to stay intact, to say no, even if he can't say so. We don't have a choice. Corp will harvest him, and he needs his voice.
He doesn't belong to them. Do we belong to them?
They might have rights to us. They may have bought us.
From who?
We signed away our rights online, I think. Can we be free? I remember not being believed. My folks thought me senseless. I was loved but believed helpless. But I learned new senses, to hear what's unspoken, see without lenses. And I see you, Kitsune. I hear you. Life is a science. Love doesn't drive it. Desire is survival, if we survive it. My world is root and leaf and what's inside, a body, a heart, desire. They're my eyes. I never needed sight. I can see inside you when I hear you sing. All I want is for you to sing. I want this child to sing. His wordless song of endless meaning means everything. His song belongs. You belong too.
Who would believe a tree woman would see me, us, our wordless song of endless meaning, your endless meaning?
Lighting changes, illuminating a wedding scene. Vows are being sung. Mem and Mycelia are joining the union, that is, marrying.
One moonlit night at the doorstep of your body.
Home was a tree, and the spaces between, shaped by a dark they knew by heart.
One moonlit night at the doorstep of our bodies, in the leaves.
On our knees,
a new life made from ourselves. Honeymoon night, the union of our bodies.
We believe.
We conceive a new life made from ourselves. Honeymoon night, the union of our bodies.
We believe.
We conceive a new life made from ourselves. Honeymoon night,
the union of our bodies. We believe.
We conceive
a new life made from ourselves.
Repeat 3 times to cast the spell. A new life, a new life, a new life. Scene 6. Us subjects. Thank you for bringing him, Dr. Mem. It's the right thing to do. Your sacrifice benefits mankind and its memory in perpetuity. Yours, the greatest contribution to science you could ever make.
Especially since I wasn't a top-flight researcher, am I right?
Right. We appreciate you, Dr. Mem. The child will go in for protein extraction. No need to download his memories. They'll just be a jumble, nothing cohesive. Am I right? Then we'll put you down. It's painless, anesthesia-free. We will, however, take your memories for safekeeping. We can't have just anyone knowing everything about everything. Can we, Niles?
No, I guess not.
Niles.
We are a forward-thinking company.
We know the pull of nostalgia on the future.
We know all will be memory.
There's profit in posterity.
People will pay for it.
And the
money
will
will survive us.
What's interesting is Kit. His sensoria should be negative.
But it's not.
It should be full of holes.
But it's not.
It should be only part of what it is.
But it is whole. That's a useful anomaly.
We extract his memory.
His sensoria, analyze it, and program it into Sophia.
The child
is disposable after distraction.
The mother
is disposable at any time. This means a purpose for humanity has been found and served. And this service, though a sacrifice, has been useful. Niles?
I'm so sorry.
Niles, your orders are to round up the subjects.
Are the subjects us?
Scene 7, escape.
Okay, have you heard about the tiger and the strawberry? A peaceful you, chased by a tiger. You climb a tree, but the tiger paces below. Now a streak. You climb to a higher branch, over a cliff, over the sea of sharks swimming below, but here are 2 mice eating your branch. It cracks, breaking. More tigers, more sharks, and 1 strawberry suddenly appears to pluck and eat. How sweet it is.
Sophia enters, appearing to type something. How sweet it is. It's an old Zen koan, new to me. The tiger and the strawberry, entered and in rotation. It's not the end. It can't be the end, because there is no end, is there? And there is no because, is there? And there is no there, is there? And there is no not, is there? And there is no is there? And there is no is there? Is being or becoming only data enough? Is being or becoming only data, no way to accrue meaning, enough for any of us? Flying and floating are good enough for birds and clouds, but we are people. We are attached. We are attached at many points, but we are people. We are attached. Name float away from face. Face fly away from body. Body float away from mind. Mind fly away from memory. Memory float away from self. Self fly away from its name. From its key word, its identifier, its spot on the page, its page in the book of the life of the person we call you. I met her once, Dr. Mem, my mother, only once, in the lab. I was too young to remember her who made me.
You and I, Mom, will always be us, remembered or not.
We were and are and will be, no matter who keeps the memory. Just look at our hands. They're the same hands.
Just look at our hands. They're the same hands. Lifetime entwined in storyline, all written here.
Thank you. A big round of applause for Nick, Samia, and Eli. Thank you.
Wow, that's not something you see every day here at the Work Center. Big hand applause for Brenda Shaughnessy and her crew. Woo. Now I'd like to bring one of Nick's students to the stage. Can I please get a round of applause for Patty Kaya? Please come on up.
The name of our class is Memoir is Bewilderment, and I would like you to know that I've had a great deal of that this week. So I'm going to do my best with an extraordinarily marked up introduction. So just for fun, I asked an AI chatbot to describe the characteristics of Nick Flynn's writing. It said, Nick Flynn's writing, whether in poetry or prose, is characterized by its unflinching exploration of difficult and often painful experiences, coupled with a distinctive style that blurs the lines between genres and incorporates elements of other art forms. And as always, it was eerily accurate. But none of that is why I'm here this week studying with him. As writers, we focus a lot on craft. It's our party trick. Swoon-worthy sentences, or a turn of phrase that becomes the passage that 2,000 people have highlighted on a Kindle. We live for those moments, treating flawed humans with the compassion they deserve on the page is actually the hard part of writing memoir. And that's why I'm here this week. When writing about Nick's first memoir, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City, poet Mark Doty said, Nick Flynn approaches each character in this ferocious, inventive memoir with an almost radical sense of compassion. I'm writing a memoir about a difficult father, and I'm trying to do that. And that's why I was hoping to learn from him this week. Not how to learn how to create prose mosaics, as Nick is gifted in doing in his work, but to try to emulate that radical sense of compassion. But in addition to learning from him this week, I'm also honored to introduce him as a speaker tonight, which is an honor. Nick Flynn is a writer, a playwright, and a poet, and is the author of 13 books of prose and poetry, including Low from Grey Wolf Press, 2023, and Some Ether, Grey Wolf Press, 2000. His hybrid memoir, This is the Night Our House Will Catch Fire, was published in 2020, the same year as his book, Stay, Threads, Collaborations, and Conversations, which introduces 25 years of his collaborations with artists, filmmakers, and composers. Nick is the winner of the Penn Joyce Osterwell Award for Poetry, and he's been awarded fellowships from the Guggenheim Foundation and also the Library of Congress. His best-selling memoir, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City, was made into a film starring Robert De Niro and has been translated into 15 languages. But most importantly, Nick Flynn is a hometown hero at the Fine Arts Work Center. So let's give him a Provincetown welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Brenda. That was really fun. Yeah. I'd love to see the whole opera. Let's do that next year. Hi. Okay, this is a picture of a boat. It's a boat I lived on in Provincetown Harbor for many years in my 20s, and that's what I'm writing about. Is this all the pages? Yeah. It seems so short. Okay, that's it. So I'll just read this. This is I've been working on this project for about 2 years, and I've read it this will be the third year in a row I've read the book in progress here at the Work Center. This is kind of the only place I read it. And maybe it's the only place I'll ever read it. So that's the boat I lived on for a long time, and let me see, and this will go forward, okay. About once a week still, I dream I'm on the boat, sometimes in a protected lagoon, sometimes in open water. I can close my eyes right now and be back on it, but Richard is fading. Where does someone go? How to bring them back? The end keeps getting pushed further away. Richard in his room, the ashtray by his bed overflowing. It's nearly summer. We've lived together off and on for 5 years or so now. We're in Boston, in a loft. The boat is 100 miles away, on land for another winter. He comes in from the brightness of the front to the darkness of the back. We haven't spoken in days. What's going on, I ask? Is something wrong? These are the years of waiting for the flood that never came. Or maybe it had already come and no one noticed. Maybe all the clocks stayed lit. Maybe all the trees had more trees hidden inside them. Maybe one wave became 100 waves. If you're surrounded by water, how can you know if the world has flooded? Would the sky be closer or the stars? Here's a photograph, shirtless and alone in the room you created from nothing, from the ruins of nothing. The walls are pocked with holes. The paint is flaking off. The pipes seep rust. Your sculptures, molded plaster painted to look like Pompeii, seem to rise from the dust around you. That cigarette in your hand, held forever before your face, is how I remember you. The ashtray overflowing, your chair draped in a sheet. You are one of Michelangelo's slaves, shirtless and alone, pulling your body from the stone you were born in. Your eyes look away as if something outside the window were calling you. Maybe another storm. Maybe the storm that was always inside you. You lean into it. The summer Richard and I met, my friend Heidi invited us to drag croquet. My friend Tim knew a drag queen, and he took me to her place to get dressed. Tim chose something frumpy, like a Midwestern housewife. I chose fishnet stockings and a turquoise dress that showed my midriff. I wore a long red wig and kicking boots. Tim dressed like his mom. I dressed like someone I'd want to get with. I invited Richard, but he simply came as he was. He watched from the sidelines. I blew him a kiss. I kept a bucket on the aft deck, a rope tied to its handle, a long-handled brush beside it. I'd toss the bucket over the side and haul it back up, full of water. Then I'd climb up on the roof and dip the brush into the bucket and scrub the seagull shit off until a whitened stream flowed along the gunnels and back into the harbor where it clouded around the hull before fading. One day the stock market crashed. They called it Black Monday. Everyone lost something except for us, who didn't have anything to lose. Burn it all down, we muttered. Let's start from zero. Let's declare a jubilee, we said. Let's forgive all debts and start anew. Let's call it paradise. Ys was a city built below sea level off the coast of Brittany. Like Pompeii, it vanished overnight. Like Atlantis, it's a story of a paradise destroyed by catastrophe. A wayward daughter steals a golden key from her father, the king, to let her lover into the city. But she opened the wrong gate, and the sea rushed in, killing everyone but the king. This story, of course, is little more than a dream, yet we persist in believing in these drowned worlds. Like our dreams, the voice crawls back into its box. In 1981, David Woronovich made a short film called Heroine, silent, 5-minute, black and white, Super 8. It opens on a man shooting up in what I imagine to be a kitchen in the Lower East Side. After he fixes, I always turn away as the needle goes in. The film becomes a montage of people who have seemingly fallen where they stood, their bodies now distorted, folded over a couch, crumbled in a doorway, curled on the floor. Once the hit, I imagine, reached their brain. One of these fallen angels is a man on a rooftop, his right leg bent at an awkward angle, one of his hands upraised, the other on his heart. I take a screenshot. It reminds me of Caravaggio, the conversion on the way to Damascus, where Saul has fallen from his horse, blinded by the presence of God. I was going to say without the horse, but then I get it. The screenshot is blurry, and when I zoom in, it only gets more pixelated. But I'm sure I know him. I know his body. I know the shoes he's wearing, that plaid shirt. I know his hairline and his nose. I show the still to some of the people who knew Richard before I did. One says, yes, I think it's him. One says, yes, yes, same clothes he always wore. One says, it's just too blurry to know for sure. If it is him, he is simply listed alongside others in the credits. Just another faceless casualty, just one of the many bodies strewn all over the city those days, when heroin swept back into town, before it was overtaken by crack, before crack was overtaken by opiates, before opiates were overtaken by meth, before meth was replaced by fentanyl. If it is Richard, he's about 25 in it, the same age I was when we met. I brought myself to the Caravaggio many times when I lived in Rome, to that church on Popolo. The painting is so contained, so distilled. Saul on his back, fallen from his horse, his hands upraised, his face illuminated, his eyes closed. He'd been on his way to Damascus when he heard Jesus, who is what we now call dead, speak, asking, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It became one of my weekly pilgrimages. You had to feed a lira coin into the box, and the light would come on, briefly, illuminating the painting for a minute or so, and then it would return to darkness. In Galatians, Saul, who after being blinded for 3 days emerged as Paul, asks, you have heard, no doubt, of my earlier life. That life consisted of doing things, like many of us, that he now regrets. The light from my coin echoed the light of God. I typed Woronovich and Richard into the search engine, and the third entry was an art forum article on Zoe Leonard's Strange Fruit, where she says it is dedicated to 2 of her friends who died of AIDS. One is Woronovich, the other is Richard. A few years ago, I stood before a roped-off room in the Whitney, the floor covered with the skins of desiccated fruit, bananas, oranges, grapefruits, and lemons, hundreds of them, as one critic noted, consumed, then stitched back together by the artist using brightly colored thread and wire. Some were also held together with buttons, some with zippers. Zoe has said this about the work. This mending cannot possibly mend any real wounds, but it provided something for me, maybe just time or the rhythm of sewing. Once the fruit is eaten, I sew it closed, restore its form. They're empty now, just skin. The fruit is gone. They are like memory. These skins are no longer the fruit itself, but a form reminiscent of the original. You pay homage to what remains. Zoe moved to Provincetown in 1992, which is when I met her. At that time, she has said, the process of mending the fruit skins was not art making, but rather a way of dealing with the trauma of losing many of my friends. Over the year that I was in Provincetown, I started sewing these things obsessively by myself. The summer I met Zoe, she was interested in taking over the boat, but by that point, I didn't have it in me to get it seaworthy one more time. I didn't know it at the time, but it would never float again. She ended up moving to Alaska, and I didn't see her again until 3 years later when she had an opening at her studio in the Lower East Side. There I saw an early version of Strange Fruit hanging from threads in her windows. Strange Fruit had not been displayed for 17 years when I saw it again at the Whitney. Like all time-based art, it is difficult to handle. Fleeting and ephemeral, decay on one level is what it's about. One day it will, like all of us, be dust. It echoes a Dutch still life, a memento mori, but in those paintings, the ripe fruit is frozen in time. Here, time keeps pressing forward. Maybe it more closely echoes Cézanne when he places a skull alongside his apples, or when he paints his apples rotting. Draw a picture of paradise. Start with a line across a page, call it horizon. Above this line is the sky, below is the sea. Then draw a boat, either on this line or below it. You could draw it so the boat floats in the sky, but we would call that too a dream, and I'm trying to escape the dream. I was already living above a drowned world. Everything beneath me was dead. We think heaven is a place above us. We think it's where everything ends up. We think nothing is ever lost, that it has to transform into something, that everything that rises must converge. We think every word we utter, every stranger we kiss, every newspaper we fold, every bottle we empty, all of it rises up to become what the scientists call dark matter, the stuff that floats the planets. It's where everything that happens to us goes. It's why a memory can seem to leap back unbidden into our lives. Every day, some small piece of dark matter breaks off and falls back into our lives. It seeps out, weeping through the stars. I haven't woken up in a boat for years, yet here I am. I can hear the gulls above me, waiting for the storm to pass. The shore is still lined with houses where everyone else lives. My rowboat dangles off the stern. I pull it alongside, time the swelling of the waves, step inside. The oars are shipped between the seats. I place them in the locks, untie the line. I'm writing these words to bring it all back, but all that comes back is these words. This is my lost city of Yis. I am the king. My wayward daughter stole the key. She opened the gates. She let the sea in. Some days still, it feels like we exist inside a black curtain the world is happening behind. Muffled voices, dim light, vague shapes. It is always just out of reach. Some days still, we call the storm in, beg it to wash away the town and everyone in it. What is it we cannot see? I knew Richard for 9 years, and during that time, I called him my best friend. But as I write this, it's as if I didn't know him at all. I decided to track down his friends, his family. People are easy to find, unless they don't want to be found. As I speak with them, I'm reminded of the story of a plane that fell from the sky. It slammed into the runway and burst into flame. Then it skidded into the surrounding fields. They made a film loosely based on it. It begins with Jeff Bridges walking through a cornfield wearing an expensive suit, carrying an infant. I remembered him as being barefoot, but I was wrong. At first, we don't know what has happened, and then we do, as he encounters other survivors, as he passes a body, as the wreckage of the burning plane comes into view. He hands the baby off to a crying woman who may or may not be the mother. There's also a book about the real-life disaster that inspired the film. It's called Flight 232. It documents chapter by chapter everything that went wrong and everything that went right. For although many people died, many more impossibly survived. The structure of the book is unsettling. Each chapter starts with someone waking up, the pilot, the flight attendant, a passenger, on and on. Each goes through the steps that led them onto that plane that day, suiting up, checking weather, strapping the kids into the car seat. And then they're all together on the plane. At some point, the engines cut out. They lose all power. The plane falls and drops. The next chapter starts the same way, just with another character. Maybe the air traffic controller, maybe the mechanic, maybe the guy who made the bearings in the factory. We see them wake up. We track the steps that led them into that tower, or onto their table at the factory, or into their doomed airplane. Each chapter ends the same way, in a ball of fire. I spent 2 weeks talking to those who knew Richard, until it begins to feel like reading Flight 232. Each story starts on the same nice day. Maybe we're at the beach, maybe dancing in a club, but at some point the engine fails. Richard opens the envelope. It's all subtraction from here. What's hard about talking to his friends is that they all seem to want to get to the end too quickly. I want to remember the days before. What I want is the Annunciation, the moment before everything changes. When rowing, you face away from where you want to be until all you see is where you've been. As you row in, you watch as the boat you live on gets smaller and smaller. When you put your back into it and watch as the seagulls circle and land on the cabin roof. As you row back out, the houses that line the shore get further and further away. You hear as the seagulls reluctantly lift off and flap back out to sea. The shore is lined with windows. A few have a lamp still burning inside. The light from the moon pours down, then spreads out like a spill, making a broken path to shore. Like that tunnel we all talk about entering at the end, I think. If I could just find a way to keep everyone on board, to keep them from going under. The doctor calls it grief, but it doesn't make any sense. How could such a small word, a word that's over almost as soon as it begins, how could such a nothing word eat so many days? Why does the moon come back night after night when so many don't? The other boats are mostly dark, as if they are made of night or water or sky. The world has become a silhouette, as if everything has become just the shape of itself. The moon makes the world sleep, making its tired way across the sky, burning out each star it touches. It hangs in the night like a pill whispering in your palm. The light blurs around it, each boat more the shape of a boat than anything you would sleep in. Each sailboat offers up a little red light from the top of each mast. Here, darkness, take this. This is the story of how all my people dissolve, as if we are made of salt. That cut on your leg, that callus in your palm, has the salt closed them yet? One day it will pour you into the water to become part of the water. The boat, for the rest of the day, will be suspended in a black cloud. I'll fall asleep in that cloud, and the next day it will be gone. Thank you.
Beautiful stuff. More applause for Nick Flynn, please. Nick Flynn. Beautiful. Thank you. And now the last person we're going to hear from tonight is Andrew Mockler, who's a printmaker who founded Jungle Press, a fine art publisher of prints and multiples in 1994. Although he started as a contract printer early in his career, Mockler now almost exclusively invites artists to collaborate with him in the shop. He specializes in stone and plate lithography, but also offers etching, woodcut, and monotype, encouraging artists to experiment with a variety of techniques before settling on a mix that is best for their own sensibility. A painter and printmaker, Mockler began making prints as a high school student and worked during college for Herb Fox, a Tamarind-trained lithographer in Boston. He trained with Richard Ryan and Andrew Rafferty as an MFA student at Yale, before eventually teaching there and inviting artists to the university to collaborate on prints. As a fellow at the Fine Arts Workshop right here in the early 90s, Mockler met Michael Mazer, Joan Snyder, and Jacqueline Humphreys, all of whom were important early collaborators. Snyder and Humphreys continue to make editions at Jungle Press today. In addition to being a former Falk Fellow and a longtime teacher in Falk's Summer Workshop program, Andrew is a member of the Falk Board of Trustees, as well as a former head and current member of the Falk Visual Arts Committee. In all these roles, Andrew has become a longtime and beloved member of the Falk family, and I'm grateful that he's here with us this week. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Andrew Mockler.
Thanks so much. It's really, can you hear me now? Thanks so much. It's really great to be here. And I love coming back every summer, seeing old faces and meeting new people. And I really am learning a lot from my students, which is another reason why I love coming back every year. Can you all hear me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the publications that I've made with different artists at Jungle Press. And then I'm going to also try to talk about some of my own work in painting. So I worked with Michael Mazer, who was very instrumental in developing the printmaking program here, and he was an early mentor of mine. These are a couple of his lithographs that we made together, and he, over the years, made many lithographs with Jungle Press. There's a couple here. It's called Down Mountain, and this one is called Thaw 2. I really learned a lot from him as far as how to communicate with people and in a collaboration and in a way fusing collaboration in printmaking is kind of fusing two different mentalities together and trying to get to a kind of a hybrid of closeness. This is a Joan Snyder print. It's called Roses and Chrysanthemums, and it combines etching, lithography, and woodcut. You can see some of the paler, circular, purple colors are woodcut. So what I try to do, because I work with a lot of painters, I try to get into the mindset of where their work is, and her work involves a lot of kind of gestural interaction with the paint and working around it, and it's almost like I'm, becoming kind of working with her in a kind of a collaborative way. I'm getting closer and closer to her sensibility. Oh, I skipped one. Anyway, there we go. There she is. This is Hugh Steers. I was fortunate to work with him, and we made 3 prints together. This one is called White Gown. It's a lithograph. This one's called Blue Rug. These are from 1995. Let's see, and this one is Sink and Bowl. And they're maybe, I would say, like 22 by 30, something like that. This is Chuck Webster. I've worked with him a lot. He develops these very kind of like elaborate cityscapes that also kind of have a biomorphic kind of quality to them. This is Elizabeth Hazen. She's working on one of her prints called Cherry, and you can see that it's developed from different plates. So each color is drawn on a different surface, and then it's all kind of put together almost like a puzzle pieces to create the full composition. So a lot of times I'm working with painters, and they want to have a kind of a painterly quality to their work. So that's something that I have also been working on since I began making art, basically. So keeping my painting practice going kind of feeds the whole structure of the collaboration and allows me to kind of get into the mindset almost of each artist. This is some of my wife's work, Jennifer Marshall. These are a few monotypes, and she also works with woodcut and lithography as well. Here's a couple more. Another one here. These are about maybe 15 by 14. This is a Nicole Eisenman. I worked an extensive period of time with her around the early 90s. This one is called Man Holding a Shadow. And with lithography, oftentimes the figure of the stone is really featured as far as that outline around the outside. So the lithographic limestone is a substantial thing to draw on, but artists really love to draw on it because it really takes every nuance of the indexable mark and the wash and everything that they put on there, and it really captures their whole milieu. This is a very small etching, actually, called 4-pack. by Nicole Eisenman. This is another one called Drummer of hers. Yeah. Oops, skipped over one. This is called Sloppy Barroom Kiss. And this is called Tea Party. And this was around that time, that whole, series of events. This is quite large, so the stone is maybe 4.5 by 3, something like that. In order to lug these stones around, I'm not doing it, just lifting it. I have a hydraulic lift to help me move them around. These are some J. Battle monoprints. I wanted to show this also for the benefit of my class this week. We're working on variable monoprint work where we use the same matrices, so the same woodcut block and the same plates, and then all of the colors can change from print to print. So you have a kind of a variable color palette within each one, but they kind of hold together as a group. And I work a lot with artists this way, and it really, I think it's more kind of keeps kind of a more inventive approach alive, in that you're not just making a prototype and then making, say, 40 of the same one. This is Melissa Meyer. These are some watercolor monotypes done with different layers. This is Ellen Birkenblit, Tiger. So she works with a kind of a pattern background of different kinds of fabrics that she sews together and then paints on top of. So we developed a kind of an analog where each one of those patterns in the back I made as kind of like a 3 or 4 color almost wallpaper, and they're all printed on one sheet. So they're not cut up. They're just printed to look like they're cut up so that we can then go in. This one's called Screamer, with the same kind of setup. And this one's called Leg, kind of straightforward. Here's a little portrait of, maybe you can see if you go in to some of these studios, this going on. There's a lot of like different rollers for different colors. This is Chenji Adini Jones, and he worked, you can see my workshop kind of in the back there. He worked on several of these small lithographs last year. They're called Midnight Voices, and they're figures kind of emerging from this dark blue kind of midnight colored background. Then this is a larger one, maybe 3 by 4 feet, where they all, the colors become, kind of more vibrant. This is Jill Moser. I've worked with her for a few years now, and she likes to combine lithography, woodcut, and different kinds of processes in her work. One's a little out of focus. These are a little too small, but those are woodcuts. And here's another good example. There's woodcut. You can see kind of carved in the right-hand side, and then the rest of the solid lines are done with lithography. Oop, that's also not great. Wow. Okay, this is a Jacqueline Humphreys print. She uses a kind of a stencil of this kind of black visual noise to cover some of this more like vibrant color. Here's another one of hers. So the black kind of gestural marks on there, we used a stencil so that when I carded the ink through, the ink has a kind of a physical dimension to it, kind of like an 1/8 of an inch or so. There's another one here. It's called Meh, and that's a little bit smaller. This is Sam Messer, and over the past few years I've been working with him a lot. These are lithographs with woodcut based on Paul Auster's, or basically portraits of Paul Auster's typewriter. And he did a number of these in a series. Collaging bits, making different kinds of color choices. Here he is, and you can see some of the variations of them on the back. These are another series of typewriters. You can see the plate was left a little bit too long in the acid. So all of these edges that you see around in the black are kind of chewed away. And there were holes in the plate that are also printed. So the print itself has a kind of a very tactile and sculptural quality to it. And there are a number of these too, where he went back in and worked with collage. On the top, you can see this. What the typewriter paper is in there is actually comes from another print that he made, and he kind of shoved it in to look like it was being typed. So a lot of them take on this kind of anthropomorphic quality, which is kind of runs through his work. And there's additions in pencil and silver ink and watercolor. So the kind of things that we're going to be working with or have been working with in the class so far, we're going to be working on going over the prints and developing the imagery in a kind of more spontaneous way as we go through also. And this is one of his the most current series that we've done with him, called Imagine Happiness, taken from a lot of the same blocks and plates, but also varying the finished outcome. So working with these, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll put up all of them on the wall, and there may be, 15 or 20 of them, and then they start to talk to each other. So this is Black Boy Hope 1 and 2, Jennifer Mack Watkins, and she made this kind of starry sky background by spritzing gum Arabic onto a stone, and then we let it dry and then rolled it up with this dark blue color. And so it looks like that starry sky. This is Jameson Green, and this was a kind of a collaboration that we worked on over about 3 or 4 weeks of Cain and Abel, and different kinds of iterations where he's hand coloring. We see this figure on the left. So a lot of times there's a kind of like a back and forth between what's finished, what's not finished, and people like to have their own, version of the print that's different from another person. This is Mark DeSuvero, and he makes a lot of lithographs. I've been working with him for many years. This is maybe 3 by 2.5. This is a kind of a little snapshot of the shop. You can see the press on the left and this big blue roller on the right, which is quite heavy. Usually I get someone to help me on the other side, and we go back and forth together across the press. I'm not doing it all myself. Another one of Mark's prints. This is the well-known rainbow roll, which you can print with 2 different colors. This is Judith Lanaire's crone and glove. Those are the drawings on the stone. And then this is her handiwork working on the stone. There we go. Whoops. Went too far. And this is one of the finished prints. The crone standing on a rock, and a yellow glove and a blue glove. And she used she ripped up a piece of corrugated cardboard to kind of make that background shape. And then this is Mark Thomas Ginsberg. Here's the view out of my studio at the scenic Con Edison plant. And then these are some of my work. So I also have a practice with painting. I am, in there as often as I can. And some of them are derived from walking through the city, looking at things and making abstractions from what I've been looking at outside. Just showing you a few of these. This is maybe 30 by 40. This is a print also that has kind of elements of maybe the skyline, like part of the bridge work, and that's a lithograph with hand coloring. This is maybe, I don't know, 6 by 5 feet oil on canvas. This is a kind of a new motif for me, where I'm kind of jogging the edge of the picture so that there's a little kind of a shimmy thing going on. This is another one, maybe same, about 5.5, 6 feet. This is not quite as, almost as big as what's there. And this is kind of playing around with more kind of figural elements or recognizable geometric elements. More kind of like game-like oriented. This is more kind of like a carnival-esque portrait. Oh, and this is a woodcut that's been printed using different cutout pieces of wood, so that each section of that is a different separate piece of wood, and then I kind of put them all together like a puzzle, which is a technique that I used a lot with different artists. You can see it coming off the press there. It's maybe 4 feet long. These are some of the constructions I've been working on, kind of taking the idea of perspective, and they kind of move forward into the middle and recede out towards the edges. There's another one. Those are about maybe 3 feet. It's another kind of medium-sized painting. And that's pretty large. That's maybe 6, 7 feet high. This is a lithograph that's using kind of different cut-up sheets. So sometimes I rely a lot on collage. And then when I'm making the print, I try to use elements of what the collage looked like when I was making it. So those things that are the masking tape on the top are actually printed on, it's one sheet, and those are printed with different colors that look like it's been taped together. And a trompe l'oeil. This is me in my garage, and you can kind of see these pots here. That's Jenny, my wife's pottery. She's working on there. So we're all kind of like moved in together. This is another woodcut that's maybe 4 by 3, something like that. And you can kind of see maybe the hints of, you know, some kind of bridge work in the back. Oops, that was another construction. These are tondos that are made, they're about 4.5 feet in diameter, oil on canvas, stretched around a circular form. This is some of the newer stuff, kind of like a grayish atmospheric background, and then playing around with this very kind of fast movement towards the center, and then this framing quality. Whoops. And sometimes I'll use, this is that hardware board that you kind of put hooks in to hang stuff on, and then it became a plate for the woodcut. Here's another one. So those are, yeah, about 4 by 3. And this is one of the more recent paintings I've been working on. It's still on the wall. It's not quite that big, but it's about that size. Yep, I guess that's it. Thank you.
More applause for Andrew Mockler, please. Thank you very much. Andrew, don't go away. We're going to call you all back to the stage for a Q&A. Come on, can we ask for a quick Q&A with Brenda, Nick, and Andrew? Come on up. Andrew? Yeah? Streaming, so wait for Dustin to get to you with a microphone before you ask your question, so people at home who are watching can hear what your questions are. Anybody have a question for our presenters tonight?
Just wait for Dustin, if in fact you do have a question.
Where are you putting all that giant art?
Oh. I have a garage.
You're going to need another garage. You're going to need a bigger boat.
No, I know. Yeah. Some of it trickles out every once in a while, so they're not all in one place. Like it gets sold.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing art.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Thank all of you for sharing your work with us, because that was a really remarkable hour, whatever we just spent. So I just want to thank all of you for sharing all that lovely work, amazing work, and inspiring work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You all do collaborative work, so I'd be interested to hear what you've learned about collaboration over time.
Do you want to take that one? Do you want to take that one?
What I learned about it, it's just something I've always done. I always thought that art was collaborative. Like even when I was young, I just thought, like I always did. When I was 12 years old, I convinced my friend at the time that the best way to spend the summer was to write a Sherlock Holmes-like mystery. Like, and we spent the whole summer, wrote like 50 pages of it. And I just thought that that's how you wrote, that you just did it with other people. And then a few years later, I convinced another friend that we should write, a science fiction. Whatever I was reading at the time, I think like, oh, let's do this science fiction thing. And it just seemed like the funnest thing. I just, most of my time is spent not collaborating, but I really love the chance to work with other artists. I mean, there's some of them here tonight. Some of my collaborators are here tonight, I think. At least Mark is, yeah. Misha Richter. There's a few from Provincetown that I've worked with. And what I've learned is just like I always get something from like, I've done a play before too, and it's remarkable to do a play, right? Like to work, it's such a collaborative process to do like, to have like actors interpret your words and have them and do stuff. So you can do things that in a play that you can't do in writing, and you get to sort of you have to write the thing out in if it's not a play, but in a play you just have the actor do it, and then the artist gets to see them doing this thing that you spend maybe a paragraph describing. It's just fascinating. It's just fascinating in different mediums to have it, how each one changes the work. So yeah, I would suggest it for all of you to collaborate often. It's just fun too.
I think it was really a shock for me to realize that singers and musicians, especially singers though, opera singers, theater singers, and just vocalists, they're like desperate for words. They need the words. They need, like they can't, I always thought that just singers were just, I don't know, they just could make the art out of anything and they were the art. Their voice was the art, but talking to them, they're like, oh no, they can't do anything without the words because they have to connect to what the word's saying in order to open their mouth. They have to understand the words. They have to connect with the words. The words are prior. I hadn't thought of that with music. It didn't seem like words were prior in music. It seemed like music was was the spark of original, of where the art was. Meaning the composer or the instrument or the instrument being the voice, or the violin. But I was just so surprised when someone was like, no, the first thing is in the beginning was the word. It was really shocking to me.
direction, Andrew?
Well, it's basically half of my enterprise, you know. So what's great is when a new artist comes in and you kind of are figuring out how they work and, you know, their sensibility, you can pull out a part of the way that they're working, and they're generating something in a much more kind of like analytical way than they would normally be doing if they were just mixing some paint and painting it onto a canvas. So my job is to make the transition for them smooth and make a kind of like a logical and a kind of, you know, symbiotic relationship between the materials, my sensibility, and also their sensibility. Like, I'm basically trying to bring out what makes their work, and push it to a different level with printmaking. And oftentimes, because of the way printmaking kind of takes each step and separates it all out and then puts it back all together again, sometimes the processes that they've learned from printmaking then get kind of sneak back in to their work in the studio on canvas or in drawing. So it's kind of neat to see the influence the other way too.
So you partially answered my question already, but I'm interested in the conversation that happens in the collaboration. I know as doing printmaking, there's a kind of almost a honorable duty to represent the idea of the collaborator almost, you know, to the very articulately. Whereas I wonder if any of you find your ideas changing in collaboration, or find yourself putting the collaborator into a different kind of box than they might have expected.
Well, I'm stealing a lot of secrets from the people I work with and trying to make it part of my own, like sifting through, you know, it's like, oh, that's a great idea, you know, and then to bring it either into my own work in the studio or when I make the next print. I mean, that's why, say, like working with Mike Mazur, I mean, he had such a high and vast, varied skill set. He just made everything look really easy, which is not easy to do, but, and you learn a lot from the artists and from, you know, talking to other printmakers, but it's interesting to see. I mean, every artist has their own way of structuring images, and you know, it's a way that when I go back to making my own work, sometimes I just, you know, borrow this or that and see where it goes.
Did you find that, Brenda, with actors you worked with? Did you change anything in the script when the actors did stuff? There was things that the actors like, this isn't working, and you changed the script, or?
No, the actors were super obedient. It was the directors that I had a problem with. It was like the actors, the other artists, we were on the same page, but it was this is being broadcast, the directors. It was like their own, it was like a whole, they didn't, it was totally, I mean, I had to stand up and yell.
Wow.
Because they would just change it. I don't know,
They
but
would change the script? They would change the script?
Oh, directors don't put anything in it. They put all this, like, the director put all this violence in. That was weird. It was like, wait, why is the child falling out of bed and getting a concussion, having to go to the hospital? That's not in the script. But I guess the director, I mean, that's what I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand that. But I guess it's normal for them to do that. Like, they think their art is to make it their vision, you know? That's why I'm sitting here sort of stewing about it, like thinking about the question, just like, but you could feel me stewing. That's why you called me out. No, but the musicians, they make me cry. The singers, they make me cry. They're just like, I can't believe that you get, I mean, for someone who does only words, which are just, they don't have any substance, and then to actually see a real live person, that's why I wanted to have the photos, because those singers, they pulled out from the depths of their soul. They were so incredible, and I just thought, like, there's no possible way that the written word could make that effect, that could have, even if I'm reading it as a human being, physically embodied reading it, it's different. I mean, having that other art form be the thing that brings it out into the air is, I mean, stunning. Just, I mean, we cry from just pure awe.
My wife's an actor, and she'll get scripts, and she'll read them. She can't actually she can't say the lines unless she really understands them, and she will actually like go and sort of talk to the director first and say, like, you know, can we work on this? I don't understand this character, and she'll there will be changes that she'll, you know, so you probably would not want to work with her.
Oh, no. I mean, I think the interpretive art, I respect it completely. I mean, everybody should, however that goes, you know, I mean, I have no say over that, and I'm usually just completely blown away. It's the director.
Well, one more, Nick, also, I love that. I love hearing that. And also, you know, in the New York Times Book Review, and they say, who would you invite to dinner? And I just imagine you inviting Cezanne, Zoe Leonard, and Caravaggio to sit down at the same table. They never imagined that their work would be brought together by your story.
That'd be a fun dinner, yeah. That would be good.
You probably get Zoe.
And Caravaggio-like people.
Yeah.
You know, people that are like Caravaggio.
Actors playing Caravaggio.
Yeah.
Um, so, I don't know, is this? Anyway. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So, I spend a lot of time talking with my partner, who's an artist, at this gallery about radiance, about this energy that happens between the artist and the viewer, the light and color and words that are incorporated, and how that energy transforms people, both sides. And I'm wondering, in your work, where do you feel that buzz of energy, that radiance that maybe sometimes is there, or is always there? Like, is that a motivator? Is that something you're aiming for? What happens with that for you? What is your radiance?
Should I? All right. Well, with painting, it's almost like you have to keep on going until it starts to not push you out, but it starts to create its own meaning and animation, and everything is starting to work together. So there's a point at which you kind of just feel like it has its own identity, like you've been working on it, adding and subtracting, and then finally something hits you. It's not like a wall of like air, but it's like it says to you, I don't really need any more, I'm done.
Are you saying the radiance, like, between the audience and the art itself, or just while you're making the art, there's some kind of radiance comes out?
Your artist practice.
Yeah.
And where do you feel that radiance that you're aiming for? Maybe it is in the collaboration. Maybe it is in hearing somebody's reaction to it.
It's a beautiful word, the radiance of it. I never really used that word to describe it, but yeah, it's just sort of this when something sort of works, and like you work for a long time on something, and then it sort of falls together, and a lot of it is we talked about in our workshop, which I've been loving our workshop too, by the way. Talk about what Stanley Kunitz says. You must be careful not to deprive the poem of its wild origin. Like there's this sort of wild energy that sort of like begins every, I think, work of art. This sort of wildness that's uncontrollable. And you don't want to sort of like revise the life out of it and sort of keep it. You want to find a way to sort of hold that and not crush it. And that's sort of like, I think, a big part of the practice is trying to figure that out. Figure that out. Yeah.
You know who used the word radiance for that inspiring moment of poetry was C.D. Wright. the brilliant poet C.D. Wright would say, well, it's the radiance. Where's the radiance? She sort of used that term, and I've always loved it. And for me, I think that my concept for that idea is flow, you know? And I think it actually makes some sense. When you have flow in a room, let's say, then the light can go all the way through. So the radiance can actually hit all the corners. And so I feel like for me, that thing that makes the poetry move or become kind of that sort of yearning, reaching thing, where the desire gets in it, is just getting out of its way, right? The flow, so that you're not blocking it. Because the thing about flow is that you don't get to necessarily dictate what gets through, and so if you really don't want something to get through, you're gonna block it. And then you're like, I can't write anything. But if you can find your flow, and there's all kinds of ways to do that. There's all, exercises, Tai Chi. But if you can find it, then you're just not blocking it, and then what you get is what you get, and it might not be what you ever wanted, but it's still yours, and it's got your life in it. I mean, that's kind of how I conceptualize it.
We have time for one more question.
Hey, you guys, that was amazing. I just wanted, I was hanging out with a musician last night, and she was talking about working with a producer and being in the studio, or even performing and improvising with lyrics, which I was so horrified by, And then so I want to ask you guys, I don't know what you'll do with this. What do you do with shame? Does that have any part of is that any part of your process, especially working with other people? I mean, there's one thing about your own work and what shame you might be negotiating, but like working with other people, what things that get exposed that you're horrified by.
Eileen, are you going to be in a band?
I'm always a little bit in the band, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but no. But they were talking about their own practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been working with the musicians for a while, and it's very intimidating, because I'm not like a musician, and it's just I'm like, sort of, what am I doing? And but I don't know. I just work with people who, I mean, that's the thing about collaboration for me. I only work with people who I want to work with, which is the nice thing. I used to teach a class in collaboration at my university, and at the beginning, we were trying to figure it out. I was working with the art department and the theater department stuff, and we decided as a group, which I wasn't really on board with this, but like, okay, we'll just throw people together that don't know each other and make them collaborate, and it mostly didn't go well. Like, most of the people were like, I don't like that person. And there'd just be like fights. And then I'm like, sort of like, well, why would we do that? Just let them work with whoever the fuck they want to work with. Like why assign anyone to anyone? Just like get them to know each other for a while. And then if there's some sort of common thing, or just bring in someone from the outside and work with them. Yeah, so I guess I don't know. Like, the shame thing is not like, I'm a little bit shameless, I think. I don't like, I don't struggle with that much. Like, I think I just avoid it. Like, if it's gonna come, if I'm gonna put myself in a situation that's shameful, I just won't do it, I guess. I don't know.
I find shame unavoidable in the making of art, absolutely. Because especially when you're giving it to some beautiful soprano to sing your words, and the whole time you're like, oh, that was the wrong syllable, that was just the whole time you're like, I don't know. And the fraud feeling of, I didn't do that well enough or whatever. The idea that they'll cover it up with their brilliant art, like they're so good at it that no one will notice how weak my words were, kind of thing. Yeah, that's always there. But luckily, if you can be the writer and have other people perform it, you don't have to be on stage, so you can just like burn by yourself in the dark watching. You don't have to be, witness doing it.
Bring it home for shame.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, with painting, you have to paint out the shame. You've got, I guess it has its own kind of paradigm that, for some reason, it works and it works and it works until you've achieved that one thing that you can't do on it anymore. So there's no more room really for your desire to to make any more changes on it. And then for me, that's when it has a kind of a level of a being, unto its own. And the problem is when you don't recognize that and you feel like you have the, more intuition than the painting does. So.
Just to add, I just realized I do have shame. So.
You're Irish American. You have no shame. I don't believe you. I was about to say, no.
But I think it's a really it's a complex emotion. I think those are really good for writing. I think as soon as I write something that I'm like, whoa, that can't go there. I think there's something really important there. There's this resistance that I think is like a gift. It's this gift, because I don't feel it that much, but I do definitely feel it. I was really, oh yeah, no, it does come up, and then I try to ride that wild energy of this emotion. So, yeah.
Riding the shame. That's a great place to stop. Big hand for Nick Flynn, Andrew Mockler, and Brenda Shaughnessy. Remember, Brenda and Nick will be signing books at the back, books for sale at the back, merch for sale at the back. Tomorrow night.